All right, everyone. Hello. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and start making our reel. So this is gonna be for assignment 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take turntable animation from assignment 1 and assignment 2, and then use the play blast from assignment 3 and create a reel of what I've done in this class. You're free to add any of the other assignments, the other tutorials, but not a requirement. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up and make a clean play blast of this. So under show, in my shot cam, I'm going to hide my NURBS curves. I'm going to hide my image plane. So under show, I'm going to also deselect image plane. And once I find that, right here you are. And I'm also going to hide the grid, just because it's just a little distracting visually. Okay. So now that I like that, I'm going to keep you can keep the camera name there, and you can also have your frame number, current frame on display. So under display, you'll go to heads up display. So this is all the stuff that you see on the overlay of your camera. Um, and then where it says current frame, you would check that on. All right, so now that we have that, you do not, for this instance, frame it how you want it to look within your resolution gate, but then make sure to turn off your resolution gate so that it's not incorporated in the Play Blast. You're gonna right click on the option box for Play Blast. You can name this, I'll name this, since this for sure is my final version. I'm gonna click on Play Blast, save to file, and I'll name it assignment 3 too. All right. Display size 1920 by 1080, and you'll hit Play Blast, and it'll go through the motions here, literally and metaphorically. Okay. There you go. So next, I'll save my scene here, save scene, just to have it saved. I'm gonna set my project to, for me, in my example, it's gonna be the hammer tutorials. I'm gonna open up that assignment file, but for you, it's gonna be assignments 1 and 2. Go ahead and open up assignment 2 since it has the textures already incorporated. Um, and so we'll go through that, but I'm going to be using the hammer as an example because I've used that as your example to follow when you're working at home. So I'm going to set my project. I'm going to go to File, Set Project. I'm going to go and look for my assignments in here. Model the hammer. So it's actually tutorial 4 in your for me, but for you it's going to be assignment 2. I'm going to hit set. I'm going to hit open scene, and we're looking for the latest version. There we go. Oh, did I finish this? I did not. Okay. You're going to pretend this is finished. I think I finished it in class. That's what it was. All right. Let's see. Let me double check before I. Yeah. Okay. Whoops. Embarrassing. All right. And that's fine. So I'll open the scene. I've set the folder to this assignment, to this project folder, and I've opened it. What I'm going to do, if your object is more than one item, you can do a few things. You can select it all and hit under, you might have to go to your general workspace. Lies and Fairy Tales, you're going to go to your modeling workspace, modeling standard. Aha. You're going to go to mesh, and you'll hit combined if it's more than one thing. So then it treats itself as one object. Um, and then, so another way you can do this is you can press Control G and group everything. So let's say, let me just flip this on its side so that way it's already in the correct format. So we're going to go rotate Z in 90 degrees. There we go. So it's on its side. And let's say these were scissors. So I'm going to press Control D just so you can see this, right? So like I said before, if you select them both and you go to Mesh, Combined, then the center pivot, the new pivot point will be at the center and it'll treat it as one object. So that's one way to solve that issue. So then you don't have to select everything each time to rig it. But since this is already one object, I'm just going to go ahead and set up the rig as such. So let's go to the orthographic camera. I'm going to go to my top camera. That is not zooming out, of course. Oh, because I locked it. That's why. All right. There we go. We got there. All right. So, a couple things. Like I said, we don't animate on the model itself, so I'm going to add a curve circle again. Center it, bring it out. I'm not going to change the shape of it, but what I am going to do, I'm going to make it pretty large and then center this as in the middle as possible. So then that way, that pivot point will be in the center. What I'll also do is just so that the spinning of this hammer is a little bit more centered, I'm going to hold down D and then just move the pivot point in the middle. Another way you could do this is if you click on Modify, you could select Center Pivot. So it's a little bit more centered there. I'll bring this in the middle as well. All right. So now we have our rig, at least placement of the rig set up. Just make sure under the channel box, select your hammer, select all these items, and then freeze all. Same with your control. Right click, select all the attributes, freeze all. And then now we'll select the control, which will be hammer control. I'll select the control, select that first, hold down the shift key, select the hammer, go to rigging, and then make the parent constraint again. The other option you could do is middle mouse drag into the hammer control, but I always prefer this one because then it won't highlight the object. So now, and just note that I am rotating the control, not the hammer. It just, the result, the effect is that it's moving the hammer now. Okay, so I press Z to undo that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to map out how long I want this animation to go. I have a random cube there. Let me delete that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this rotate for 8 seconds. And it's pretty simple to do this. I'm going to switch my workspace to animation now. And in this instance, we're going to make a batch render. Instead of doing a play blast, we're going to do a batch render because then it'll render all the lights. It'll render your setup as you would have it in your scene. The only thing is you cannot batch render Arnold stuff, so if you would just have to adjust your lighting to my hardware lighting is the only thing. So just please remember that. So if you have Arnold stuff, you do have to switch it to my hardware. So at frame 1, I'm going to press S. Very simple because we're going to start at 0. And we're actually only going to rotate on Y. So we got to do some math here. So it's going to be for 8 seconds, right? Let's do our blue pencil. And our frame rate is 24 frames per second. So 24 times 8, right? Hopefully we're there. Got the 2, carry the 3, 16, 192 is how many frames we need. So right now, our range, or by default, our range is typically set to 100. So I'll type here on one end, down here at the bottom, 192. Ah, there we go. So my outer input, or the input that's on the far right, is my maximum or the end time of the whole animation, and right here is my view range. So right now it's only showing 100 of the 192 frames. So I'm just going to drag it all the way to the end. You could just type in 192 on the left input on this right hand side of the um, frame range of underneath your timeline. So now the math is easy. So it just needs to rotate once. Well, how many degrees is one rotation? Okay, pause the video, guess it for yourself, and cue the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thinking music, right? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, anyways, the answer is 360 degrees. Okay, so all we need to do at frame 192, where we are right now, make sure to move your marker in the timeline there. Type in, with the control selected, 192. If it is a dark, oh wow, sorry, 360, I'm so sorry. On frame 192, I was wondering why that looked odd. On frame 192, type in 360 in your channel box of the control you just selected. And if you have auto key on, it would turn bright red. If it's still pink, press S, and then that'll set the keyframe. I'm going to go to my graph editor, and the only change I'm going to make is just to change the handles a bit. So that way they're not slowing down at certain points. It's just going to be this like linear thing. I could just drag select these and just make it linear. Make my life easier here. There we go. Okay. So with that, let's go click on the graph editor tab to close it, or minimize it is what I mean to say. And so let's press play here. Ooh, ah, ee. It's on looping right now. So perfect. I love it. Wake of art, I gotta say. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a batch render. So under my settings, I'm gonna do a few things actually before I do that. A few things. I'm gonna select my camera. Because I know I have to use Hardware 2.0, what I can do is I can adjust the background color a little bit. I want it a little bit lighter gray. So with the camera selected, I'm going to go to my attribute editor up here at the top where my mouse is. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom where it says environment. I'm just going to change the background color to a lighter gray. Let's go, yeah, let's go like a light gray there. It's pretty solid. I'm going to close that. Adjust your lights. I do have some lights here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to select them in my outliner. I'm going to press H. Let's see my light preview, see how this looks. Ooh, that's a little hot. I'm going to have to... I see. Yeah. Wait, no. The spotlight is like... I'm also going to look at the shadows, turn that on. And ambient occlusion. Make sure also multi-sample anti-aliasing is checked on, where my mouse is right here above your camera. And I'm also gonna show the plane, so then that way, okay, that looks way better. Yeah, spotlight for some reason I'm not liking. But then, oh, you know what? It's because this is like not textured. Let me bring this, move this out of the way. What is this? That's my directional light. Okay, this is my. I see. I have my rim light in the same direction for the most part as my spotlight, which is weird. And it's not letting me rotate. Why can't you let me rotate? There we go. Wow, what a difference. Okay, and then, yeah, that is my. Okay, woof. And I'm just gonna scale this out. Okay. All right. So I have this, and now I'm gonna just double check my resolution gate here. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna go to my render settings. I'm gonna go to Maya Hardware 2.0, and I'm gonna give it a naming convention. Now, I recommend also giving a folder name, meaning I'll type in test folder. This will be, or no, render folder. I'm going to give it a forward slash. So now anything after that will be the name of the image itself. So render folder is the name of the folder. So I'm asking Maya to create a new folder as it's rendering. And then now I'm going to give it a name. Hammer. Image format, keep it as a JPEG. And then as far as frame and animation extension, right now we have it as a single frame for our single current render the current frame option. But I do want this to render with the file name, which is hammer, dot the frame number, dot the extension. That ends up being the easiest format to have. You could also do underscore dot extension. That's another option. Um, and then over here, where it says frame range, you're going to type in 192 by one frame at a time. Do not skip. So don't you do not need to click anything here. We'll use the perspective camera. 1920 by 1080 is perfectly okay. I'm going to hit close now. And now under the rendering tab, I'm going to click on rendering. And here you'll see some other options aside from render the current frame. You're going to hover your mouse to the clapboard and you'll see batch render. So this one right here with the clapboard and three little frames showing that it's multiple frames. This is a render sequence. So this will render all the frames, but here we'll just do render batch render, and it'll just do the frame range that we have already. So I'm going to click here, and notice down here at the bottom, the results are happening right now. And with batch renders, you do not need to turn off the resolution gate. That's only for the Play Blast setting. So I'm going to pause the recording. And once this is done, then I'll record again. And I'll do the same thing for without the textures. Okay, so the batch render happened. If I minimize this, and then if I went to see your class folder, if I went to tutorial 4 and I went to images, you'll notice, look at that. Oh, I clearly cannot spell. Look at that. All of those files are there. So I'm going to do the same thing now for assignment 1, but I'm just going to go ahead and use this file that I have here because everything's already set up in the exact placement that I need it to be. So the only thing I'll do here, select the hammer itself, go to your attribute editor, just hiding here on my other monitor. I'm going to go to the shader for this object, and I'm just going to break the connections for any of the other texture maps that you may have. So you'll right click here, and you'll click on, I'll do it again just so you can see it. Oh, hey. I just have to hit, let me undo, there we go. So you'll see here, there's a map here. Right click on the word for that attribute. Let's try that again. Right click, hold down, and release on break connection. And there you have it. And so now you should see it here, a plain hammer or a plain object in your instance. And I'm going to do the same thing. The only difference here is I'm going to just change the file name so it's not to get confused with the last renders that I made. So I'm going to click on render settings. This will be no texture. Blank camera, I don't know. Assignment 1. Hit close, and then I'll click on batch render again. I'm going to pause the recording again just because it makes the rendering happen faster. Okay, so it's completed. It's there. The new assignment 1 no texture file. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and save my scene, call it a day, and I'm going to close out Maya. I no longer need it. Next, I'm going to open up Premiere. You're free to use CapCut, I believe, or iMovie, whatever helps. The library does offer Premiere and Final Cut if you need to use those files and assignments. So let's go ahead. I'm going to minimize this. And I'm going to open up Premiere. I'm going to pause the recording because this might take a little bit of time to load. Okay, so Premiere opened. I'm going to click on New Project. I'm going to save this in my desktop. Choose location. Save this to my desktop. Choose. And I'm going to save this to give this a name of assignment 4 real. I'll click create. And I'm going to import my media here down here at the bottom left corner. I'll double click. Go to my desktop. I'm going to go to the assignment 3. I'm going to add the movie that I just made, which was my final. Import. And I'm going to import. Let's go back to edit. I always prefer just clicking here. I'm going to go back to my desktop and I'm going to add tutorial 4 as soon as I find it. Animation. Here you are. Under images, and I'm going to select this folder and this folder, and I'll hit import. Okay. So first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and add these images. So right now they're not showing, partly because um, my because my computer is so old, I always have to switch my render scratch disk on my project settings. So I'm going to go to File, Project Settings, Scratch Disks. Oh, lies, my general. Where it says Mercury, if this happens to you, I switch my render to just Mercury playback engine software only. There you go. So I think by default, my settings already has each lies. No, oh, it's really slow. Okay, so I need to change my settings to these images. So I'm going to zoom out, drag my slide bar here on the right hand side out. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on duration, speed and duration. And so right now each of these frames is 3 seconds long, which is a little too slow for me. And so I'm going to delete the 3, make it into a 0, and in here it's going to be 0, 1. And here it's asking for ripple editing, meaning, well, if I shorten this, will there be gaps in between, which are the ripples? I'm going to say ripple edit, meaning that there will be no space despite shortening each of these images as far as duration. And I'm going to hit OK. Right. So now we have something that should be about 8 seconds long for the most part, or 6 seconds. Did I do the math wrong? I might have, and that's okay. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the assignment 2 option. What I'm also going to do before I do that is I'm going to nest this, so that way instead of treating this as individual images, I'm going to treat it as one block of media. So I'm going to select all of these images, drag select. I'm going to hit my right mouse button and I'm going to click on nest sequence. Where are you? Nest. And I'll give this assignment 1. There we go. So now I can just move it as 1. Okay. So next I'm going to go to the render folder. So the second set of images. I'm going to hold down the shift key and then select the last frame. Drag it to here. And I'm dealing with the same thing. So zoom out. Drag select all of these. Right click. Adjust the duration. Delete the 3 or whatever number you may have, 0. And then make this 0, 1 at the last unit. Check on ripple edit and click OK. Alright. Gonna zoom in. So same thing, I'm going to drag select these images here. You might not be able to see that they're selected. I'll zoom in a little bit further. Okay, so now you can see that they are. I'm going to right click again with them selected in just those images, not the previous sequence. I'm going to click nest, make this assignment 2, hit OK. All right, and then I'll go ahead and add assignment 3. So I'll move this across. This is 2, 3. So we have a few options. First things first, I'm going to add a title card. Give my name. You're going to want to start with your name. Make sure it's clear, legible font. Avoid cursive things that are not clear. Again, you have, as a animator and as someone that's marketing themselves, you only have a small window of time to market yourself. And if they can't read your name clearly, they're going to move on to the next person that knows how to set up a reel. Um, so I'm going to give myself text. I'm just going to type in my name first, Laura Benitez. I mean, you don't have to stick with like a typical Arial or Calibri font. You can always, add a little zhuzh, right? Um, so I'll select the graphic itself. I'll highlight the text. I'm going to go to, nope, lies. That's not what I meant. Let me click on the windows. It's not the one I want. I need my properties. Essential graphics. Essential graphics. Okay, here we go. So I have it as Myriad Pro. Let's see. Yeah, it's decent. If I want to go like more like an 8-bit look. You can always, if you don't want to eyeball, under Align and Transform, center horizontally. This is center vertically. And then I'll add another text. This will be generalist. Really is what we've done so far. This hasn't been a class that focused on a specific part of the pipeline. We've done a little bit of everything. And here we're going to align it, center it horizontally. And you can make the font a little smaller than your actual um, name font. So I'm going to just scale this down a little bit. Cancel. So make this maybe 90. See how that looks? We can do 80. Yeah. No. Let me center this one more time. There we go. And then typically you would put contact info. I'm not going to in this example, but down below, when you do set up your reel, give yourself contact info. And so we'll have this play out for a few seconds. Let's see. First play, 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds is good. And then I'll have these other clips. I'll have it disappear. It'll cut to black, and then, so let's press play. See how this looks. Did I spell generalist? Okay, I did spell it right. Let's play this again. Sorry, I had a moment there. Okay. Alright, so the thing I'm going to do here, the fun bit. So about halfway through, I'm going to have assignment 2 up at the top here and align with assignment 1. What I'm going to do is just halfway through this is I'm going to have a mask showcase what's going on here. So I'm going to select assignment 2. I'm going to go to effect controls and I'm going to add a 4 polygon mask. All right. So I'm going to put this over here for right now. Actually, let me make this a little bit bigger though. So I'm just adjusting the anchor points here. Okay, just need it a little bit larger. Okay. So what I'm going to do is at the end point, because this is what I want it to look like at the end, is I'm going to set a keyframe on the last, well actually not the last frame, but maybe a second after the halfway mark. So halfway through this is about 8 seconds, right? So I'll go to 9 seconds here, right here. A little higher. I pretty much want this ellipse taking up the whole space. Or not the ellipse, the rectangle here. Okay. So right at the 9 second mark here where it says mask path, I'm going to toggle animation. So at this point in this position, that mask will be at that point. I'm going to move across and look at my time code until it says 8 seconds. Okay, I'm going to click on mask again. I'm just going to move it off. There we go. And so now let's see how this looks. So I'm going to press play. It's a little slow right now. Okay. And I can always add like a little feathering to the mask itself too. I'm not going to toggle the animation for it, but I'm just going to increase the feathering a little bit more. Type it into 20. Okay. See how that looks. Yeah. Okay. And then I'd cut to the next assignment, which is here. And then I'm just going to duplicate this title card. Give it a few seconds before it pops up. Zoom in. So we're at 20. There we go. So let's see how this looks as a whole. Mm, okay, there we go. And then, so, and typically you, for your actual reels, you kind of keep your reel pretty short. Like, you wouldn't go past like a minute. So now what I'll do, I'm gonna add like music, a little bit of instrumental. So under essential sound, I'll click on browse. I'll look for maybe something. No, kind of like this one. It's enough to fit this the 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 example. So I'm going to lob off this end by selecting the sound, moving my playhead, and then clicking W. I'm gonna bring it out just a little bit longer, and then I'll add a fade out. So under your effects tab here, if I click on the arrow here, I'll look for effects, and then look at audio transitions. There's only one set by default, and I'll drag a exponential fade, and I'll have it fade out a little sooner. See how this sounds. shorten it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to hit export. I'm happy with that. I'll name this assignment last name, first name, assignment 4. Save it somewhere, again, because there's no assignment 4 Maya project folder. This is what you're submitting. This is it. And export. Uh, Click export again. It's just asking about the quality of the audio. And thus we are here. And that's it. So this might take a little bit. I'm going to pause the recording. I'll play it for you once it's done rendering. Okay, it is done. Let's see. And that's it. All right, you did it, guys. All right, I'll upload this and hopefully this makes sense. And I'm going to stop the recording. Good day.